Here we go. All right, here it comes. So this is a lecture I'm doing. In fact, I'm leaving for China in the next couple of months to do a tour out there, a placement. I just got back from Europe, did it there, and I'm starting to do it around the United States in scientific communities and also big health venues. And there's a term, you've all heard lifespan, which is how long you live, obviously. You've all heard the term health span, which was probably coined by someone about 1970s, early 80s, I believe. And it's how long you're healthy. And they actually have a criteria around this where you're at least over 50% of capacity of almost everything that you can do, okay? But health, what it also means is this, that why it's so low in the United States, or Western societies for sure, has to do with the fact that the definition is that you are on almost, at age 65, 85% of Americans have one chronic disease at age 65. 50% of Americans have two chronic diseases. So that's pretty much the end of our health span. So that's where that number comes from, and I'll show it to you when we get to the next slide. And there's play span. Now, I coined this a few years back. You guys heard me many years ago talk about it with athletes. We can extend an athlete's play span 4 or 5 years by having them recover properly with nutrition because they never do it right. Okay, when they do it right, they can add years, literally, to the body that they're putting through hell. Okay, and that's $20 million a year for some of these athletes. And I think you guys also know I get a lot of actors and actresses ready for movies. In fact, that's one of the reasons I was in London last week for the Tom Cruise premiere and the European premiere of Jack Reacher. I get Tom ready for his stuff till he can recover. Tom, he's 53 years old now. He does all his own stunts. He's a freaky athlete. And he very clearly, because we spent time together, right during the premiere, and just said, "Hey, listen, I can't tell you. I mean, be able to do what I do now is unbelievable." Because he was, you get to that age, you can't do some of those things, but he's been able to stretch that, and right now to be able to keep us looking young and being able to recover from all the stuff that he does, he might get another 5, 6, 7 years of doing those crazy stunts. He does all his own stunts. The guy's a freaky athlete, and the movie's great, by the way. It's a little plug for him. I told him I'd plug it for him. It's second reacher there. Okay, so play span is this: how long you're physically, mentally able to do the activities important to you. So that's the phrase that I've coined for everyone in the world, for my family, for your families, for your clients, for everybody. And it's a heck of a lot easier to extend the play span for people that are not competitive athletes, trust me. All right, so let me preface it with this. We live longer, but not necessarily better. Everybody knows that. That's no secret, okay? But you can blame it all on Alexander Fleming, or most of it. Most of you probably don't know that 100 years ago, the average lifespan was 46 years. In 1928, and today, even almost every scientist coming out of school, and existing scientists, when they're asked the question, what's the greatest invention in humankind, they'll say the accidental discovery of penicillin by Alexander Fleming in 1928. It's almost unarguable. It changed the entire world. Changed the entire world of medicine. It allowed us to defeat disease and get most of our kids, instead of 5 of them dying in childhood, we get 5 of them up into adulthood. So it changed the whole world. And then modern civilization also. The world isn't so dangerous. Well, the problem with that, it created a new hurdle. Now we get diseases you never even know existed. I mean, over 3/4 of the cancers that we get today, we didn't live long enough to get them. No one knew what they were. So lifespan, we extended it, okay, but now we find that we get these diseases early in life or midlife, and back then it would have been late in life, and then no one would have known. But now it's obviously we live long enough to get all these things. So that was the new hurdle. And of course, Western lifestyles, we chose to live here. And of course, all of these things became a reality. Our society and our economy are built around our appetite for life. That's what, you all know, this is the Wild Wild West, and it's the way we live. Our appetite for life, including food, the foods we eat, the foods we like, money, work, the amount of work. When we're trapped to a desk, we're sedentary most of the time. That's how we support our families. The stress to live in society today that is as complicated as it is, the medicines, where we give you 5 medicines, only 1 is treating the original problem, then we're giving you 3 other to treat the medicine that's screwing you up, that's treating the problem. So it's become crazy, and then of course the pollutants that obviously from industrial societies are unavoidable. But we chose to live here. I do not want to move to some island in the South Pacific where this stuff doesn't exist to be a farmer, so that's not going to happen. So these are sort of the things I just want to have in the back of your mind. Therefore, discounting the insurmountable genetic abnormalities. Let's face it. There are people that are born with genetic abnormalities, and they die of cancer very young. It's extremely sad. Those things are not treatable. Those aren't preventable. Those are things that we do the best we can. But those are true defects, okay? So we understand that. But genes and weight, what I mean by this, you may have the propensity or the gene structure that could, for lung cancer, but if you don't smoke, there's a good chance you won't get it. You may have heart disease history in your family, high cholesterol. But if you exercise and you eat properly and keep your weight down, it'll probably be a very good chance it won't happen. No one's a prisoner of their genes, so keep that in mind. True defects, you're never gonna, this next slide is not gonna get you out of that. Accidents. When I say that, so obviously discounting accidents. I mean, if you get hit by a train when you're 46, you may be in the best health in the whole world, so we're not counting that, right? But you'd be surprised how many accidents are related to frailties due to undernutrition. When your grandparents get old, they break when they fall because they didn't have enough calcium in their diet throughout life. All of these things, the brain, your brain deteriorates at a younger age, like in your 60s and 70s, because you didn't get enough vitamin K throughout life to build it stronger. So all of these things, that's from undernutrition. So, accidents from that don't count. Those can be overcome. They're not true accidents, obviously. So, discounting all that, how can we play as we want till the end? So if you're a golfer, you're on the 18th hole, you're 97 years old, you make that putt on the 18th hole and you drop dead right there in the green. That's my dream, okay? If you're a cyclist, you get to ride your cycle all the way to day's end. If you are a hiker, whatever it may be, you play volleyball, you still want to play volleyball. You won't do it as good as when you were 30, obviously, but you can still move out there and you can still move around. So how can we play till the end? Mindful that, and here's the saying I want you to never forget. Everybody knows the first part of this because I didn't make that one up. We are what we eat. And don't forget, we are 100% what we eat, not 99%. You all know that. When you're in the womb, when you're conceived, you're in the womb, you are now, food is being brought into that structure and you're growing. And there's a certain amount that you need to grow properly of all the stuff that's coming from the mother. When you come out of the womb, if you just stop eating, you will never grow and die. So you are 100% what you eat. But here's the part that I added. The sad news is you also become what you don't eat. And if you don't get the calcium or all the 46 nutrients that you need throughout life to build a strong structure, you don't get the maximum the body can use. You get a little bit, fine. The maximum you use, you won't build a strong structure or have the potential to build as strong a structure. And that's what it's about. So that leads you right into the slide. So with all that in mind, the goal of maximizing nutrition and activity. So what I like to say is fill gaps and keep moving. That's all. Modern humans have that potential to live longer and better. All your studies are on here as well. So here we go. Now this is the facts. Lifespan, health span, play span. Current age in the U.S. right now is based on the fact that the average American follows 35% of the recommendations nutrition-wise and even exercise-wise. So lifespan, because of that, is 79 years in the U.S. That's number 50, by the way, worldwide. Health span, 68, which means you've got at least one chronic disease, and 50% of Americans have two, at least two at this point. That means you've had a bypass, you had something related to your health that was probably controllable. Now, play span. Play span is how long you're able to do things. Well, the average life of somebody still being at 50% capacity, say 50% of lung capacity, 50% of heart capacity, or VO2 max, as we like to say also, 50% of mobility is age 35 in the average American. All right, and obviously the biggest reason for that is that at age 35, probably 75% of Americans are overweight. So that's what really skews that all the way down to there. These are facts. By the way, this is all driven by algorithms. They're saying everything here is the real deal. Now, if we get our clients to go up 50%, whether it be a multivitamin or whether it be just to walk a little more, and of course your clients are already exercising, that's not the issue, but for nutritionally wise, get them up 50%. But think of this for your family. For those of you that don't work nutrition for your clients, shame on you, of course, but think of your family. Just bump it up 50%. Life goes up to 85. That's not the big one. The big one's this. Look at the gap closing between health span and lifespan. That's incredible. Because you don't have to eat perfect. You just got to start filling gaps. Play span, 55. Look at the gap changing. You just added 20 years to your play span. Go to 60. The gaps just keep getting closer and closer. It's crazy. Go to 75. Closer, closer, closer. Go to 80. And that's good enough for most people right there. Go to 85. Crazy numbers. Crazy, crazy numbers. I mean, you're still active at 85. You're riding your bike around the neighborhood rather than laying in a chair in a hospital with tubes in you. You're not even doing everything perfect. You're not even close. You're just filling gaps. 95%, you're going to be healthy till you go. The reason I put the question mark at 90, I'm pretty much making shit up at that point. I'm not sure what you should be doing at age 90, so I'd be careful with that one. But anyway, you get the point. It's unbelievable. Now comes the punchline. How do you do it? So here's the nutrition summary for everyone. And listen, if you don't do this for your clients, that's why I say I've never sold anything in my life. I just tell people the facts. And I expect them to do it. Because I don't know anybody that doesn't want to be at the top rung of this thing. I don't know anybody. So my family does it. Everyone I come in contact who does it. You know, every athlete we work with, of course they all do it. So achieving the top rung. So for all of you that aren't going to do this for your clients for whatever reason, do it for your family. Just make me happy on that part. I got a world to save and I can't do it without you. And if your next generation for yourself and your family can do it that way, because that's an easy conversation for you, let's just do it. So here it goes. Minimum. Obviously, keep active. And by the way, cultures that live longer, they don't work out. They just stay active, okay? So, but exercising is obviously real important. Everybody should be in a gym, because especially if you live in a Western society, because there's no way to put stress on your body very well, resistance on your body without going to a gym. There's some obviously great parts to that whole thing. Eat the best you can, all right? And you can, you have examples of that, but eat the best you can. I've become so agnostic to that, you just can't get people to change those things, while maintaining a healthy weight and make sure of these things. So here comes the punchline. Multivitamin mineral, womb to tomb. And I can't tell you how important that is, because that's something you can't guess about. Well, let's see, I ate perfect today. Well, number one, you didn't. And number two, what's perfect? And did you measure the ingredients of every one of those foods? So all the nutrients in the food, did you measure them? You buy an orange in Florida, there's no selenium. You buy it in California, selenium. You live in Florida and you're eating that way, you're missing a nutrient you have to have, and you probably have early cancer if you're not filling the gaps. So all of and if you take too much selenium, you have a higher propensity of cancer too. So a simple multivitamin and mineral, not multivitamin mineral, like your actives and the things that you're giving your clients, and all the references are right there, they work synergistically with the foods that you're taking in. They don't replace foods, remember that. They work synergistically to fill the gaps the foods are automatically leaving. And trust me, they are. They're unavoidable. You have unavoidable gaps in your body. And what I love, and this is through all stages of life, I always like to take everybody back to the beginning of time for each one of you. In 1965, the AMA, American Medical Association, made it mandatory that everyone involved with the AMA, every doctor, had to prescribe a multivitamin mineral called a prenatal to the mother that just conceived. And guess what happened after that? Wiped out 40% of all birth defects. Why the hell? So that baby's getting a multivitamin before it's even going, so all the things are there for the first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, because you can't go back and do it again. There's windows of opportunity all the way past puberty that you can never go back and get it again. When you're 30 years old, you can't go back and get 2 inches of height. If you didn't get enough protein during that period, you're already not, you can't go back and do it. It's the same thing in the first, second, and third trimester. So we were able to wipe out that many birth defects. So why would you stop taking a multivitamin mineral? It is it's stupid but the problem is when you're young, you're immortal. Well, when that immortality fades, when you get my age, trust me, you never forget to take your multivitamin. But the point is, of course I never have, but the point is that womb to tomb, we're trying to stop adult defects just the way we were able to eliminate so many birth defects. You just keep them going, because if you short yourself, your body's constantly robbing Peter to pay Paul. We call that triage. Every vitamin and mineral has at least 30 to 300 different functions in the body, but there's always a primary one. You can only build bone until you're 23 years old. My daughter, I make that joke. She's got 4 years left to build bone. She's not getting the amount of calcium she needs. So those are the kind of things that happen. So if you can do all of those things, fill all your gaps. And otherwise you're taking part of your nutrients and going over here, whatever the most important for today, because immediate survival favors long-term health. Your body doesn't care about if you get Alzheimer's when you're 70. It only knows that got vitamin K to stop a bleeding. Well, you need vitamin K for the brain. okay, to replace neurons properly. It just won't do it right if you don't get enough. But you're not going to just figure that out from food. So the multivitamin womb to tomb is a slam dunk, no matter what. Now, the second recommendation for everybody is 1,000 to 1,200 mg. I use my daughter's example here. Diet first always. So don't forget, I'm always a proponent of it. Diet first, supplements as needed. Unfortunately, 80% of the U.S. is deficient on these, which means that 80% of the U.S., if they live long enough, will get osteoporosis. Their bones will break early, they'll fall, they lose balance, they break, and then they've got a hip replacement, they've got all these things. This can be avoided for the vast majority of these people if throughout life they got this much, which is why I've been on my daughter nonstop. Now, both my boys, my two sons, and myself have never taken a calcium supplement in our life. We have our pre-post shakes, which has about 500, 600 milligrams of calcium there. I have another shake later on sometime, so you got enough there. And our regular foods, we all still drink milk. I'm not saying you all need to drink milk, but you got to find some source of it there if you're going to get it from diet. And unfortunately, most Americans don't do what I just said, like my wife and my daughter. Both of them take calcium supplements along with their food. So this is huge because you only build bone to 23. Everyone over here that's over 23, you're not building any more bone. All you're doing is taking out if you're not getting enough calcium, which means it's going to break early. So again, that's what we talk about growing strong, womb to tomb, and same with the calcium. All right, so the newest one that almost everybody is aligned with all the way around, and by the way, these references, they tell you about the blood levels of these people. So this is a good example, the fatty fish thing we're talking about here. What we're trying to do with 500 to 600 milligrams a day of omega-3s with that ratio of 3 to 2, that will bring our blood levels up, which we actually measure through the erythrocyte blood, the erythrocytes in the blood. We actually measure the omega-3 levels in there, and we put an index to it. And if you're somewhere between 8 and 11, you reach the level of the Northern Europeans who have like reduced at least 30 different diseases that we get over here, they don't get. And we attribute almost all of that and their longevity to the fish that they eat. And this is the ratio that gets you there if you're not eating fish. So if you can eat fatty fish, which basically 95% of Americans don't, 2 to 4 times a week, then you don't need to supplement. In fact, if you go out for sushi tonight, you probably won't need it for at least 2 days. But after that, you'd have to take supplement if you're not. So every cupboard should have a multi, calcium, and an oil in it, no matter what. And you don't need to take it, again, if you're getting enough from your food that day. And these things you can measure what you're getting from your food. The multivitamin, you can't. There's no way of knowing what everything's in every food there. So that's just the one you have to do. The other ones, if you can get it from your diet, great. If not, then, of course, that's it. And again, we're just talking about the generalization here all the way around for the average person. These are slam dunks. These are important to reach that top rung. And the final one, and this is brand new since 2015. The top protein researchers in the world met in Washington, D.C. last year. And this is what everybody came down with. Of all the research that's gone on over the last 25 years, protein, here's something you want to walk away with right now. The older you get, the more protein you need. Young people do very well with small amounts of things. Their body can just reuse stuff very well. The machines work. But humans were not designed to live past 35. You have to understand that. We weren't. We cheated death. Once we cheated death, we're trying to figure out how to live better. The older we get, the more resistant we get to everything. The more resistant we get to weights. We work out. When you're 70, you don't put on the same muscle when you're 20. That's pretty obvious. Okay? We also need more protein because the body becomes resistant to it. So you need to keep it up. So here's the number. 1 gram for everyone. I don't care who they are. 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. And if people are lean, just go 1 gram per pound. Divided 4 to 5 times a day. That keeps protein synthesis alive. Body breaks down protein, builds protein, breaks down every 4 or 5 hours. This keeps it alive constantly. All the references are right there. If you're exercising, you can kill 50 to 70 grams right now in before and after. Use your shake before and after. There's 70 grams out of the way if you're old. That's why it says 25 to 35. For you young people out there, 25 is fine. 35 for older because you're resistant to it. Fast-acting protein, so that's where you're before and after. You got your first string if you're an athlete. If you're on a weight loss program trying to maintain weight, you're an older person, waist smooth is perfect. Pre-post shakes, fine, all those. 30 to 40 minutes and repeat immediately following. Now, what this does, this will up-regulate the body. You're now giving it what it can use to grow and stay strong. You've hit the home run. Everything is done nutritionally, from a nutritional standpoint, for you to reach that top rung. That's the take-home message. You've upregulated to what the body actually can use. These are all the most important parts of what you need to do. So that summary is for everybody. Nutrition summary, everyone. Extended health and play span versus a lifespan. 1. For now you see why sports nutrition is considered the new healthy aging. Keeping active and staying lean. Your workout is only as good as the recovery from your last. And here's the big one. Don't buy from the mass market if you expect the results that you just saw. Not going to happen. The longer they play, the longer your client plays, the longer they stay with you. When they can't work out anymore, they're not going to be with you. So the healthier they can be, the happier they're going to be, and they're going to stay with you a little bit longer. So I'm going to go to questions right now on this piece here, but I just want to close it with this for all of you, and that is at least do this for your family. Maybe if there's people out there you really don't like, don't tell them about it. But do it for I'm asking you to do it for all your clients. I got a world to save. I can't do it by myself. Do it for at least do it for your family. Okay, Rob, open it up.